Hey everyone, and welcome. Today we're going to talk about something that affects all of us every single day, our relationship with food. We're going to explore how just a little shift in our awareness can totally change not just what we eat, but how we eat, and really, for the better. So let's dive in.
Okay, so let me just start with a question for you. Think about the last time you ate. Were you, scrolling through your phone, watching TV, maybe firing off emails from your desk? Or were you actually there, experiencing the food? It seems like a simple question, right? But your answer says a whole lot about how we eat these days.
And get this, a crazy 66% of Americans regularly eat their dinner in front of the TV. And that's not just some quirky little habit. It's really a symptom of a much bigger pattern of distracted or mindless eating. We've kind of turned our meals into just another thing to multitask our way through. So, here's our game plan for today. First, we'll unpack this whole distracted dining problem. Then, we'll get into the solution, which is all about the art of paying attention. We'll dig into the cool science with your body's internal internet, then get super practical with mindfulness and practice. And finally, we'll talk about finding that sweet spot with awareness, not obsession. All right, so let's start with our distracted dining problem. As we just saw, it's super common. But this habit of, zoning out during meals, it has some real, actual costs to our health that go way beyond just eating a little too much. So here's a wild piece of science for you. When our brain isn't really paying attention to the fact that we're eating, our whole digestive process can become 30 to 40% less effective. And that can lead directly to things like gas and bloating and just feeling off. It turns out your mind needs a seat at the table just as much as your body does. Okay, so if mindless eating is the problem, what's the fix? Well, that brings us to our next section. We're going to explore this really powerful antidote, which is all about paying attention. We're talking about mindful eating. So what does that even mean? Well, mindful eating is pretty simple, actually. It's just being aware, without judgment, of what you're feeling physically and emotionally while you're eating. And that phrase right there, non-judgmental, that is the absolute key. This is not about calling foods good or bad. It's just about showing up for the experience. And let's just look at them side by side because it makes it so clear. On one side, you've got mindless eating. It's fast, you're distracted, you're basically on autopilot, and you're not even aware of what you're putting in your mouth. But on the other side, you have mindful eating. It's slow, you're present, you're doing it on purpose, and you're actually savoring everything. It's a huge shift from just running on autopilot to actually being aware. Now for the really fascinating part, the biology of why this all works. We're going to talk about your body's own internal internet. It's this high-speed communication network that's constantly running between your gut and your brain, and scientists call it the gut-brain axis. And here's the magic number you need to remember. It takes about 20 minutes for those signals that say, hey, we're full down here, to travel from your stomach all the way up to your brain. So when we eat mindlessly and super fast, we can blow past our body's needs before our brain even gets the memo. Slowing down isn't just a nice idea, it's just good biology. And a couple of key hormones are the messengers here. You've got ghrelin, which is basically the go signal. It's the one that tells your brain, hey, feed me. But as you start to eat, other hormones like GLP-1 and PYY kick in. They're the stop signals that make you feel full. Being mindful just gives those crucial stop signals enough time to get where they're going, so your brain can actually hear them. Okay, so that's the why. Now for the really exciting part, the how. In this section, Mindfulness in Practice, we're going to get into some simple, super powerful skills you can start using, like with your very next meal. Here's a classic exercise to get you started. Just take one slice of an apple. First, just look at it. Really notice the colors, the shape, the texture. Then, pop it in your mouth, but don't chew yet. Just feel it. Okay, now start to chew, slowly, and pay attention to that burst of flavor. And now the texture changes. And finally, notice that exact moment you decide to swallow, and follow that feeling all the way down. It's a simple thing, but it literally retrains your brain to pay attention. And being mindful can even start at the grocery store. The 6-to-1 method is this great, flexible little framework. You just aim for something like 6 veggies, 5 fruits, 4 proteins, 3 starches, 2 sauces or spreads, and 1 fun item. Look, it's not a strict rule at all. It's just a guide to help you shop with intention, cut down on stress, and maybe buy a little less junk on impulse. It's all about making a plan to nourish yourself. Now, we have to talk about something that is absolutely critical here, because there can be a downside. The whole point of this is to build awareness, not to create a brand new obsession. This is all about finding a healthy, sustainable balance.
There's actually a clinical term for when this goes wrong. It's called orthorexia nervosa. It's when this pursuit of healthy or clean eating becomes a super rigid obsession. It gets so extreme that, ironically, it starts to cause real harm, like nutrient deficiencies, social anxiety, and just intense stress.
So how do you tell the difference? Well, this chart really spells it out. With mindfulness, you're working with flexible principles. With orthorexia, you have these rigid rules, and you feel terrible if you break them. With mindfulness, your self-worth has nothing to do with what you ate for lunch. With orthorexia, it's all tied up in being perfect. And maybe most importantly, mindfulness can actually help you connect with people, while orthorexia often pushes you into isolation. And really, this is the goal. This is the whole point. It's not about perfection. It's not about restriction. It's simply about building a calmer, more positive relationship with food. It's about finding nourishment, satisfaction, and maybe even a little joy in the simple act of eating. So I'll leave you with one final thought. What might change for you, in your body, in your mood, in your entire day, if you just decided to approach your very next meal with your full, non-judgmental attention? What if you truly savored it? Something to think about. Thanks so much for joining me.